Hello everyone, it's old Guardian here. Molten Core, the first raid for Warcraft Rumble, the second co-op experience after Sieges, is coming to the game within the next 48 hours. And we're going to challenge 7 bosses in this one, so that's going to be quite something. And in this video, I'm going to take a look at everything you need to know about Molten Core. Well, before the release anyway, obviously we're going to find out a lot of stuff once we get to play it. So, looking at the bosses, looking at the potential leaders, looking at the game mechanics, I had help from Vlad from the community Discord in trying to figure all of this out. He's also made some Siege videos, by the way. You can check them out on his YouTube channel. There's a link down below in the description. But now let's take a look at Molten Core. In order to enter Molten Core, you have to have 90 sigils, but 90 sigils are not going to get you very far, because the recommended levels for Molten Core start from Wing 1 level 22 against Lucifron, and then there's Magmadar in Wing 1. Then Wing 2 levels 24 to 26, there's Garr, and then there's the Flamewaker duo of Gehennas and Shazzrah. And then Wing 3, recommended level 26 to 28, Geddon and Golemagg, and the final boss is Ragnaros, level 28 to 30. There's going to be Valor from all the smaller bosses, not from Ragnaros. Ragnaros is going to award you with the Ragnaros mini itself. You're going to get a bunch of other good stuff, including a boost slot from Wing 1. And in the main, raids work like sieges. Once you beat a boss with a leader, your leader is going to be locked to that boss, so you need at least 7 leaders to take down all 7 bosses. Matchmaking is within the guild. That has caused quite some problems with sieges, but it kind of works. You get rewards for completing each boss once, but you can play with up to 3 people so that your partner is going to get rewards, so you can help some guildmates do it. And one thing that's really important to note, the levels are quite high for this encounter, but the boost slot, which is the most important reward in addition to Ragnaros itself, comes from the first wing. So even free-to-play players can achieve that, and you really should go for that. In order to get that boost slot, you just need to beat the first 2 bosses, and the first boss in Molten Core is Lucifron. Lucifron is a Flamewaker. Well, there's plenty of Flamewakers in Molten Core. And Lucifron also has these 2 Dominator Lieutenants. And Dominator Lieutenants are going to mind control any mini that gets within their mind control reach, the first one. And when that mini dies, they're immediately going to mind control the second one. So you need to get something out there that gets mind controlled and doesn't die very quickly, so that one stays mind controlled while you're proceeding to take towers and kill the lieutenants. We got a couple of glimpses of Lucifron from the preview videos that Warcraft Rumble uploaded on social media, and one of them clearly shows that you can see here mind control range of the lieutenants, and you can see that there's some overlap there. So potentially you might be able to put some unbound minis there in the middle, in the overlap area, have those mind controlled, and then push through the sides to get to the actual lieutenants, possibly. We also got to see Lucifron in action, probably going through some kind of phase change, where the area around Lucifron illuminates in purple, and then there's a splash, and then all of the minis there seem to die. So in Sieges we had many of these mechanics where when the boss changes the face, then it kills all the minis around it, and that seems to be repeated in Molten Core as well. Other than that, in the preview blog it was mentioned that Lucifron is going to summon plenty of fire elementals, so that's something that we can expect. And then probably going to use some unbounds for those mind control effects, maybe Whelpex, maybe Skeleton Body with Ritual of Rhyme. And another interesting question is going to be whether Execute works on the lieutenants, because for many of the mini bosses, Execute works on like on a regular mini, so you can execute up to 50% of their health even. Whereas for bosses, of course, Execute deals far less damage, so it would be much less useful. But we'll see about all of those things as soon as Molten Core is live. There are plenty of good options for leaders against Lucifron. One of my favorites is Charga. Charga can root fire elementals, and Charga can get some pretty sweet tempo swings going. You could use Maiev to make use of those unbound minis if you use those to fight against the mind control. You could use Sylvanas to make your minis go faster. Maybe Jane so that you can execute things better. Maybe Cairn so that you can stun the lieutenants, you can stun Lucifron. Plenty of good options there. And after Lucifron, there's only one boss remaining between you and the boost slot, and that boss is Magmadar, the Core Hound. The Magmadar has 3 other Core Hounds, with him 3 Ancient Core Hounds, and those 3 Ancient Core Hounds need to be taken down close together, because otherwise they're just going to resurrect each other. So You're going to need a bunch of damage for this one, maybe some kind of a death ball. We also got to see a glimpse of Magmadar in the preview videos, and we can see that Magmadar has this kind of cone type elemental damage, probably attack, area attack in front of it, much like the second boss in Dire Maul Immoltar. Actually, Magmadar also looks like it, so going to resemble that a lot, I believe. One of the big questions for Magmadar fight is going to be, can you execute the core hounds? Because if you can just pull the core hounds together and then boom boom execute them down, that would be a very effective way to get rid of them and then start to challenge Magmadar itself. Some of the most potent leaders against Magmadar include Cairn, who can AoE stun the hounds so that you can have a little bit more time to beat them. Tyrion, if you want to build a really big death ball, Tyrion could keep it alive and then you get to just roll in. Hogger can deal some AoE damage. Hogger could damage all of the hounds at the same time. Jaina, if you want to do some execute plays, then Jaina can boost up your execute. So, well, there's going to be a lot of options practically for all of these bosses. The third boss in Molten Core is another Flamewaker or a Flamewaker duo, Gehennas, the one in red, and Shazzrah, the one in blue. And in this fight, Shazzrah will counterspell any spells cast by players. Shazzrah is positioned a little bit ahead of Gehennas, so it's possible to kill Shazzrah first and then attack Gehennas, and maybe then use spells. But we don't know what the benefit is. Like, is Gehennas vulnerable to spells? Is there some particular reason that you want to play with cards that you can't play for a while? But then after you take down Shazzrah, they will be instrumental in taking down Gehennas. We simply don't know yet. Overall, we don't know much about the Gehennas and Shazzrah fight, so maybe you could use Grom to deal damage really quick, or Hogger or Sylvana so that you can get some minis across the board really quick. Maiev for some unbounds. We just don't know very much yet about this one. And the fourth boss in Molten Core is Garr, and just look at that map. That map has 6 towers on it. And whenever Garr takes a tower, then there's going to be some elementals that are going to attack you and swarm you. So you really don't want to let Garr take towers. But you want to take towers, and there's 6 towers here, so I think this is going to be a tremendously fun map. Because if you think about everything that you can do with all those towers, well, one thing that comes to mind is Baron Rivendare. You don't want to lose those towers, so you want to keep those towers. You have Baron Rivendare, maybe you play double Baron Rivendare, and just imagine the number of skeletons that are going to spawn from those towers. It's going to be glorious. Or you could have Sneed so that you will gain gold when you take some of those towers with siege units. That could make you very, very rich, but you don't want to lose towers, so that's only a one-time thing. Also, Garr seems to be one of the fights that's more on the armored side of things instead of the resistant side of things. So potentially Emperor Torrisen could be a leader if you want to make use of its burn ability. The fifth boss in Molten Core is Baron Geddon, and in Baron Geddon map, as you can see, the floor is lava. So yeah, you probably want to bring some flyers, because it's going to be really difficult to navigate this map without flyers. Also, it's notable that Baron Geddon's towers are dragon towers, so something like Harpies gets annihilated really quickly. Although you could have Quillbore and then Harpies, you can of course do that kind of things. It's going to be hard to access the gold nodes, so you probably want to bring Dark Iron Miner so that you will be able to mine. Something like that, flyers, unbounds, Dark Iron Miner, something like that is the tool for Geddon. So if you think about leaders that promote flyers or unbounds, then you're obviously thinking about stuff like Rend and Maiev. The sixth boss in Molten Core is Golemagg. We don't have a lot of details about Golemagg yet. All we know is that in front of all of those towers there's an incineration rune. So I think this is going to be like Drakizat fight. So someone stands on the rune and somewhere else stuff is going to burn. Or maybe it's going to burn around the towers. We don't know exactly the details. It was said at BlizzCon that you want to be careful about the type of composition that you bring against these towers. Otherwise, they just might all end up being burned down. So some kind of incineration rune mechanics. In World of Warcraft, Golemagg has 2 core ragers that cannot be killed until Golemagg is dead. I'm not sure if that is repeated here in Rumble, and if it is, then how, and can those hounds be killed before Golemagg is killed? A lot of questions remain, but incineration runes need to be a little bit careful about those. Don't really know whether the hound mechanic is in and in what way. So Golemagg is largely a mystery, and it's also really difficult to say what leaders you might want to bring against Golemagg because we know so little about it so far. If in doubt, I'd probably go with something that smashes like Grommash or Hogger. And finally, there's going to be the final boss, Ragnaros. And yeah, Ragnaros and Major Domo Executus. If you played World of Warcraft, Major Domo Executus was a separate fight. After you beat Major Domo, the Major Domo walks down to Ragnaros' lair, summons Ragnaros, and Ragnaros is angry at Major Domo and kills it. In Rumble, it looks like things are going to go a little bit different. There's no separate Major Domo fight, only Major Domo as part of the Ragnaros encounter. And of the little preview footage that we have seen Major Domo as a Flamewaker again, just doing the basic Flamewaker type attack. So probably we need to kill Major Domo, then Ragnaros is going to arrive. And Ragnaros, at least at BlizzCon, it was described as a 4-phase fight. So in phase 1, Ragnaros is submerged, and Ragnaros is going to be summoned by Major Domo, so we saw our team fighting against Major Domo there. Then phase 2, Ragnaros emerges, uses its abilities. It has Blast Wave to push minis away, it has Meteors, it has Lava Waves, so damage is coming in all forms. Then in phase 3, Ragnaros is going to submerge again, and it's going to summon a bunch of Sons of Flame, so this is exactly how the fight goes in World of Warcraft. And then in the final phase, Ragnaros is going to return. Ragnaros is going to gain Immolation Aura, so pulsing elemental damage aura, and just otherwise keep doing its things. So for Ragnaros, it looks like resistance is going to be really important. Who gives resistance to your minis? Well, you have Fairy Dragon, but the leader, yeah, that would be General Drakizat. So General Drakizat just looks really, really tempting to bring to Ragnaros fight. Many leaders would fit into multiple fights. You have to think which leader you use where, because every time you beat a boss with a leader, that leader gets locked, so you can't use it at the other bosses. So for players with high-level armies, you want to save your best leaders for the last bosses, you want to use your weaker leaders first. If you're free to play and you won't be able to progress very far, you can still try with some weaker leaders first, but you may need to switch to some of your better leaders just in order to progress. And you want to take a bit of a look at the whole raid and then make a plan for your leaders. For example, this would be one sample plan. So using Garr at Lucifron, using Jaina at Magmadar, Grommash at Gehennas and Shazzrah, Baron Rivendare at Garr, those towers, Rend at Baron Geddon, Hogger at Golemagg, and Drakizat at Ragnaros. For example, that could be one set of leaders that might be able to complete this dungeon, but obviously we still need to see more about the actual armies that all of the bosses use to know fully how to go in. But this could be something that you could use to go in on day 1 before we have more detailed information about everything. So that concludes my preview of Molten Core. Molten Core coming in less than 48 hours. And I think it's going to be a blast. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.